Do you like my decorating?
It's okay.
I am leaving that in the podcast so that everyone knows how mean you are.
No, it is okay.
No, it's pretty, as the kids would say, it's pretty mid.
Pretty mid. It's pretty mid.
Mark, as you know, Sammy's obsessed with Christmas songs.
Yeah.
Jingle Bells, Now Let It Snow, the first 5 parts of 12 Days of Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
My question for you.
Yeah.
What is your favorite Christmas song?
Are we talking like what you're going to hear on the radio or like...
Oh my gosh. First of all, can you not
is
be
this
so...
inclusive?
Like, this wasn't intended to be quite so cerebral.
Because Oh Holy Night's by far my favorite
Okay, that makes sense.
song this time of year.
Yeah. You like it a multitude of ways, or does it need to be like the traditional...
No, I mean, yeah, I'm fine with it being...
Okay. Do you have like
mixed
a
up a little bit.
favorite, I'm going to use the word secular Christmas song? Did you know Jimmy Fallon has his own Christmas station?
No.
He just came out with a new album for Christmas.
Oh, didn't know.
Honestly, it's pretty hilarious and you should listen to it.
I like Bruce Springsteen's...
Here Comes Santa Claus?
Here Comes Santa Claus. Is
Or
it
is
that?
it Santa Claus
I think
is
it's
Coming to
Santa
Town?
Claus is Coming to Town.
It's like the same thing.
I always like that one. I used to always love White Christmas. That was kind of...
Yeah.
But now I don't know. I mean, that one's fine now,
Yeah.
but I like that one. I feel like there's one I'm missing that's like the obvious answer. Oh, Happy Holidays, Merry Christmas, NSYNC, y'all.
Oh, happy holidays, Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Steven doesn't
That
know
one
that one. It
always.
makes me sad.
That takes me back to 6th grade real fast.
I sang that and it happened.
Mm-hmm.
Let's pretend it didn't and never speak of it again. Do you have a favorite Advent song?
Probably just O Come, O Come, Emmanuel.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry.
pretty traditional.
Sorry. I mean, there's not a lot there, though. Come Thou Long Expecting Jesus.
Those are all hymns. There's some like contemporary, I mean, not like pop.
There's secular Advent songs?
No, there's no secular ones. Can you imagine? What would that be
I
like?
don't know. I'm like, what songs are you thinking of?
Well, like,
that fit the bill?
I have a favorite one called Winter Snow.
Okay.
I guess it could be a Christmas song, but I think it's more Advent-y because it's slow.
Okay.
I actually really like In the Bleak Midwinter.
Wow, you're depressing.
Well, I'm depressing, and you're always talking about the apocalypse. Yeah. So, super fun church. Join us on Sunday.
Yeah.
No.
Actually, that song is pretty.
The Winter Snow. I'm trying to remember who sings it. I think it's Sarah Nichols, maybe. I can look, but I love that song, and I really like.
How about The River? Is that the name of the song?
Dude, I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about.
My wife would. She loves it.
Well,
I think it's called The River.
Oh, I lied. It's by Shane and Shane, actually, but they don't sing. It's featuring Dinah Wright. It is hands down one of my favorite songs. Like, just, period. And Joy to the World is my favorite Christmas hymn.
That's a really good one. Yeah.
Yeah, it is it's excellent.
You know which one since we've been singing, another one that I really like is "O Come All Ye Faithful."
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
This is just a good song.
Yeah, I do really like "O Come, Emmanuel."
Yeah.
So
I like
I
the
gave you shade for
mood
it.
of that song. I like the lyrics too, but it to me captures Advent. When I think Advent, it's that song.
I mean, I think that it's interesting that the way we all know now that it's Christmas. Do you know what I'm going to say?
Because of Mariah Carey?
That's exactly what I'm saying. Because
same way we know
Mariah
it's
Carey.
May because of Justin Timberlake.
Because it's going to be May.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, for real, I think it's funny that like I more than any other holiday, Christmas is defined by the music.
Yeah, for
like,
sure.
and I have a friend who calls, he listens to Christmas music all year round. Like, he just loves it. He calls it Meta Advent. And he just, like, he's super into it. He'll write long Instagram posts about why everyone should be doing this for the good of their soul.
Okay.
Well, he has feelings.
That's good.
And I think that it's really nice that our Advent worship series is sort of focused on, and also thanks for, love the shout out in even the series title, A Weary World Rejoices. That's from O Holy Night, right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
And I love it.
Yep.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
So today's a little different on our podcast because we're not just talking about last week or the week before. We're going to do a whole Advent wrap up.
Yep.
We're just going to wrap it up.
Wrap it up like a present and put it under this beautiful tree.
Exactly. So let's get into it. Well, I'm Becca. I'm the pastor of Family Ministries here at Katy First.
And I'm Mark. I'm the senior pastor here at Katy First.
Welcome to the Katy First Family Podcast, where we offer ideas, inspiration, and encouragement to help you and your family grow as joyful disciples of Jesus Christ. And we're going to wrap up the entirety of Advent in 10 minutes.
Wow.
And that's probably not true.
Yeah.
This is going to be a long one. Buckle up, folks. So, we have had a lot that we have talked about.
Yeah.
Throughout Advent. We talked about the end being near.
We did.
Or hope.
Yep.
We've talked about peace.
Mm-hmm.
This past week we had the cantata.
Mm-hmm.
This coming week we have our last Sunday in Advent.
Yeah. Looking at Mary and her magnificent song.
The best scripture in the whole Bible. I'm pretty sure I'm not allowed to say that. It is.
You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, but somewhere my seminary professor is coming at me.
Oh, well.
It's like, maybe the one should be about Jesus. It is about Jesus, though.
Yeah.
It is. I love Mary.
Yeah.
You know I do. Everyone knows I do. I'm going to get a T-shirt.
Yeah. Yeah. You already said it, but I think, so that was sort of our run with Advent this year, was to lean into both the music and the hymns, which last Sunday in the cantata sort of like, I think was like the peak of Advent, it felt like, even though it's Christmas songs, but like it lived into that sort of how music moves us. And all the scriptures that we have visited so far has some form of music or poem to it.
Yeah.
And how, that really that has always shaped us as human beings, particularly in our scriptures.
Yeah.
That this, the power of music is just one of the ways that God helps us in a weary world to find and to reshape and reframe what we're experiencing and how we're understanding it. So it's been fun to lean into all that.
Yeah. I think we really did come into, maybe not everybody, but I definitely feel more of the Advent things. I feel more hope and peace and joy and love. I'm still working on love. I have time. Now
you got one more Sunday.
I got one more Sunday.
Don't rush it, okay?
That's the whole point of Advent.
Yeah.
I do feel that way more than I did at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just the intentional focus or if it's the joy of the season but we came into December. November was like maybe a little rough. It's been a very full year, and I think we all roll into like the Christmas season, the Advent season, pretty tired. Not just like weary is the great word for it, because it's not just like I need a nap tired.
Yeah.
It is like my brain is tired, my soul is tired. My battery is just empty.
Yeah.
And yet it feels like a time that requires a lot of us.
Yeah.
And I think that's really the gift of Advent is intended to help us fill back up.
Yeah.
It's not intended to wipe us out.
Yeah.
And I think there's been a lot of extras, but you know what? In a way that is abnormal, maybe, I'm really going to miss Christmas, and not like just the Christmas trees and stuff, but like when we get to January, 6th after Epiphany, and so I guess the 7th, and we're,
taking stuff down.
Yeah, doing more ordinary time kinds of things.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit of, not a bummer, but I've enjoyed the whole like holiday season. Mm-hmm. Even just like from pumpkins to mistletoe, I have enjoyed the whole thing.
Yeah.
There's just so much, goodness in it.
Yeah. But, I think particularly in our Christian calendar, from Advent to Easter really is our most packed, like
100%
meaning, significant season. And even though we do, as Christmas ends, I'm coming to find Epiphany as this kind of new season, and I'm really beginning to like, and I don't feel like that's really, we have Epiphany Sunday, but like this season of rediscovery, the season of, like it sort of, to me, it ties into like a new year, new start, like this thing where your eyes are going to be opened.
Yeah,
and
you're right.
And then that leads us into Lent. And Lent leads us into Easter, and then before we know it, we're down to Pentecost. And so honestly, I love like how our Christian calendar over these next few months has so much story and purpose packed into it.
Yeah, you're right.
I was going to say, I am actively working on the Mary sermon right now, but don't
mess it up. She's the best.
I'm going to try not to mess it up. But I'm finding how like she really is this perfect ending to all the things that we say Advent is inviting us to do, in that we're waiting, we're trying to pay attention, we're trying to recognize how God is at work in our world and the signs that are sort of pointing us to that. All these things are part of that, what Advent does to us. And like just in the reading of the story this year, the things that are jumping out to me is Mary goes to the house of Elizabeth, who is already 6 months ahead of her in her pregnancy. And as she walks in, Mary, just her very entrance with baby Jesus in the womb causes Elizabeth to be filled with the Spirit, and John the Baptist, who's tucked into her womb, to be leaping around. And you know how I love to look at some of the words and stuff. I was sort of like struck that just before Elizabeth says these words to Mary, "Blessed are you among all women," the way it says it is that Elizabeth exclaimed in a loud cry. And I was like, that's kind of weird language, because this feels like real celebratory language. And I was like, I wonder what that, like exclamation, but like a loud cry, like what? And so, sort of digging around in that, and had sort of seen that there's really only one other instance of this cry out, this loud cry in Greek. It's not used anywhere else in the New Testament, but in the Old Testament, when it's translated into Greek, it's used when they cry out as the Ark of the Covenant is brought forward.
Oh, cool.
And how even the exclamation, all the sort of roots of it are more tied to like you would cry out in like angst. But I think you can kind of read to it in like this just sort of like gut just bursting out. And how if you tie together the story of Elizabeth, long awaiting a child in her old age, now seeing Mary and probably her hope and expectation of God's deliverance and what Mary is carrying, how that exclamation really is just this like gut explosion on our scriptures.
Yeah.
What that must have meant for Mary to receive it. And then her immediate response is song.
Yeah.
And she goes into that song, and how all of that ties together in Mary, in that we're constantly told, and Mary pondered, and Mary pondered, and Mary took this into her heart. I mean, Mary is like quintessential. You tell her something and she's like, I'm going to
think about that.
Really think and hold on that deeply.
She's going to hold space for that?
She's going to hold space for that. And then she unloads this song that, as you've said, is so beautiful, so beautifully describes how God is going to reorder the world in this Christ that she carries. And so that is Advent. Mary is Advent. Mary is the long awaiting and faithfulness, the pondering and looking, and then the just sort of explosion of, there's the signs that God's doing something new and good and birthing. So,
love it.
Yeah, such a good ending to Advent.
Yeah.
That takes us right into Christmas.
When Mary is originally visited, she has this instant reaction, right? Of, holy is God, and let it be with me, right? And not like a thought that's her not thought out, like that she's not had time, right? Now she's pregnant. She's had to leave Nazareth. She's with her cousin Elizabeth. Elizabeth and Zachariah are not only older and wiser, like Zachariah is like he's a Bible smarty pants. That's what he be doing.
Yeah.
And so he's a priest. I get nervous. I'm like, am I wrong? He's a priest. Let me use my little voice in case I'm wrong.
He is a priest.
He's a priest, and so I know he's not in the speaking phase of his life when Mary's visiting there.
That's right.
But I feel like they help her process that because she's using like old scripture knowledge to fully form what she sees God doing in this moment, and it's part of her responsibility. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes one of the things that I have a tendency to do, and maybe a lot of us do, is to think that we need to, in our faith and in our life, maybe even, have this very put together response. This we need to be able to fully understand something in order to be able to appreciate it, celebrate it, offer it, whatever, right? And I think that's one of the other gifts is nobody comes to, I don't think anybody rolls into December 24th totally well rested, everything ready to go. I think we kind of totally able to just be present to the beauty and the gift of Christ's birth. That's not exactly what happens. And it doesn't need to be. That weary part is also a part of our worship and offering. Yeah. And Mary didn't have all the beautiful words right away. And I love later Mary's Jesus is grown up, he's gone, and he started his ministry. And she comes to bring him home because he's crazy. Where is Luke 2 Mary, right? Who is has this beautiful response, right? Well, she grew up with a fully God, but also fully human son. She raised him. So she's maybe, listen, y'all, he not that great. I think that the humanity that we get to see in Mary with her responses and with her continued love and following of Christ, I think I love Mary. Yeah. Mary's the first Christian, in my opinion, because she's the first one to know and claim who Christ is. So anyway, I'm sticking to that. If anybody says it's Peter, I will literally fight them. Not really. Because nothing says Advent like your pastor coming at you. No, I would not do that. Yeah. I also wanted to tell you a story. Can I tell you a story? Mm-hmm. Okay. Buckle up. No, I'm just kidding. So years ago, when we were fostering, we had littles over Christmas. This was, I guess, in 2019. So we didn't know it was going to happen. And one of our littles, she was, I guess at that point, she was about 18 months old. Mm-hmm. And she would have a hard time falling asleep. And so every night I would sit in her room, we'd read some stories together, and then I would hold her and rub her back and sort of just kind of be calm with her for a while so that she could relax. And she had a lot of trauma, which she will never remember because she was too little. Mm-hmm. But what's the body keeps the score, right? She will always feel it, even if she can't recall why the details. Yeah. And so she would have a really hard time, especially at night. And when it got to Christmas, we had put out some Christmas lights like in the front of the house and specifically in the bushes that were in the front, because that's easy, right? You just drape them through the bushes. Well, the bushes were right in front of her window. So during Advent, I opened the blinds every night because our chair was right by the window. And we would look at the sparkly Christmas lights together, and I would sing "Oh Holy Night" to her. Mm-hmm. And it was this, like, really, I still, every time I hear the song, every time I see Christmas lights, I think of that moment because I had no idea what was going to, and I had no idea what was going to happen to that baby girl the next day. I mean, that's kind of how fostering works. You just don't know what's coming. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know what her situation would be. Mm-hmm. I didn't know who she would grow up to be, or no, we never know that, right? And I would sit there and sing that song and look at the lights and pray for her, knowing that I didn't have to have the answers. I could just trust that that God had her, mm-hmm. that I could put her in his hands, and that would not just be enough, that would be everything. Yeah. And it worked every single night. She would fall asleep the entirety of Advent. She slept better than she slept any other time mm-hmm. she was there. And I think part of that was just that I could rely on that song to calm me down too. Yeah. And I think that's what Advent is intended to be and what Christmas can be, not just loud and bright, but this really beautiful reminder of how God steps into our actual lives, not our well-packaged ones. Mm-hmm. And that we can trust that it may not always be good. In fact, it will almost definitely not always be good or easy, but that God is good, and that we're not alone in all of it. Yeah. And that the story's not over until it has all been redeemed. Yeah. So, I don't know. I feel like
that's like a beautiful way of like talking how like this, how that the music meets us where we are.
Yeah, because it tells us, and it always has, like that's the intention of hymns, right? Yeah. To tell us about who God is and what that means for us as God's people. Yeah. And how we can be a part of that ongoing redemption that God's doing in the world. Mm-hmm. It's a good thing. Yeah. So I think wherever you're at in Advent so far, if it's been great, that's wonderful. Mm-hmm. If it's been tough, that's honest. If you're tired in any way, shape, or form, and if it feels like you're not going to get a rest, I feel like from now until like mid-January, I'm way busier than I'd like to be. That won't be true every day, but it feels that way. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's just too much written on my calendar. Yeah. And yet I am also certain that in the middle of all that, there will be really good and holy things if I'll just let myself be reminded and mindful of them. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I think that's the beauty. We said Advent is not just the month of December and then we sort of turn this thing off. Like it's training us. It's helping us so that in January and February and March, some of what we do now continues. Yeah. Even though we emphasize different parts of the story of Christ, this sense of sort of a patient waiting and maybe even like a sense of kind of surrendering amidst the chaos. Like in small ways, we keep practicing and living this out. Yeah. We keep doing what Mary kept doing. She didn't stop pondering all these things in her heart after Jesus was born. Yeah. So, I think that's always the kind of the reminder of this Advent season. We don't just pause now. We kind of let it keep taking us. Yeah. Keep forming us. Keep forming us. Mm-hmm. I love it. Yeah. So this week we have a special service on Thursday. Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk about that at all? Yeah. So we
It's called a number of things. We call it Longest Night. Some call it Blue Christmas. Some call it Longest Night. And it's traditionally a service that is tied to the winter. Is it equinox?
Solstice.
It is. Solstice. Solstice.
You're doing great.
But it's a service intended for those that are dealing with grief and hardship amidst the holiday season, which can paint all this over with bright lights and hunky-dory. If you've lost someone, if you're going through any sense of loss or hardship, you just need that space to let it to grieve with hope. And to see both of those belong. And so we lean into the longest night of the winter solstice, when it is the longest nights of the year.
Yeah, literally the day with the least amount of sunshine.
Yeah. Though this year we're not actually on the winter solstice, but we're close.
Almost
We're close-ish. Yeah.
Right. Isn't it on the 20th?
Yeah, 21st.
Yeah, so I think our service is on the 20th, Thursday the 20th.
19th.
Oh, it's the 19th. Yeah. I don't know what day it is today. I'm here. But okay.
Yeah, so I mean, I this service is we've done it for a number of years, and I just think it's a sacred space. Mm-hmm. It's mainly some readings and scriptures and some songs. There is a short sermon in there, but it's really about trying to give some words and prayers to the broad sense of hardship that many of us might be feeling. We light candles as representations of those. So it's a really beautiful service.
Yeah. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorites because I feel like it is so honest.
Yes. It's not trying to get you into a good mood.
But nor is it depressing.
No, it's not depressing.
It's just exactly, you just get to be your whole self.
Yes.
If you are having a hard time, which I think that there's nobody who doesn't have something.
Yeah.
Right? If you're having a hard time, or just have this honest, or even just you feel fine, I think bringing that honest, the both hand to that service, I love it. So...
Yeah, so Longest Night will be on Thursday at 7 p.m. in our sanctuary.
Yep. Fourth Sunday of Advent.
And then we have our fourth Sunday of Advent as we look at Wonderful Mary and her song called the Magnificat in Luke chapter 1. And then Christmas Eve, finally.
I know. And we've got 2 services on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
So 3 o'clock, we have a sort of family-focused service where it'll be really easy for your kids to make lots of noise. We'll have jingle bells. I have to tell you, because I ordered 200 jingle bells. Mm-hmm. And that Amazon delivery driver sounded exactly like Santa Claus coming down to the office with 200 jingle bells. Yeah. So there's jingle bells and glow sticks and congregation participation and songs we all know. It's a really easy way for families to be in worship together on Christmas Eve. And it's early. So if your family needs earlier, then that's happening at 3 o'clock. And don't worry, Barry will still sing "O Holy Night." I know it's very important.
Yeah, it is a fan favorite for sure.
And that's part of our tradition.
Yeah.
Traditions matter. And then 6 o'clock, candlelight and communion.
Yeah.
Just exactly the kind of Christmas service that, we love and our tradition here at Katy First. So.
Yeah. I want to point out just a couple of things.
Yeah, please.
It was your idea, so I'm not going to say we, but your idea you had this idea of maybe like doing a before the service sort of primer for families and kids that as they came to service, look for this thing and this thing, with our liturgies or candles or things. Yeah. So I want to do some of that for Christmas Eve.
Yes, please do.
And though our cantata mess with this a little bit. So typically all our Advent songs are waiting. And then, and I'm pretty sure this is true at 6. I know it's not at 3, but in that long waiting, when we finally get to Christmas Eve, the first song we sing is Joy to the World.
Yeah.
And Lonnie, I know he did a number of years ago. There's like this long sort of, we don't just go right into the hymn. It's this sort of long, and so if he does this, I want y'all to be listening to it, and if your kids are like, when are we going to start singing? Notice this sort of long entry that he's going to do into Joy to the World. It is intentional, like this season of Advent. Yeah. And then, boom, we burst in Joy to the World.
I love that.
There's these small little things that can easily be missed, but are very intentional, that reflect that long waiting, and then the good news of Christmas Eve. Of course, we've been doing our Advent candle. We will finally light the Christ candle. In the middle, which does not happen until Christmas Eve. So that's another unique element. And then even, do you want to say a word about like the significance of those candles or glow sticks?
Yeah.
Like, right? Because I mean, that's a big tradition.
Big part of it.
So why do we do that sort of thing? And
I mean, Christmas happens in December when it's dark, right?
Yep.
And so as we sing Silent Night, we light these candles, and we light it one from another, and it all comes off of the Christ candle. And so we're passing that light through the room, and we talk about in Advent the slow, as if you listen to like each week as we're reading the Advent wreath, doing the lightings for those, there's these things that we're recognizing. Well, then on Christmas Eve, what we celebrate is the light of the world, Christ's entry, and we watch as the light. See, we get the best vantage point.
We do get the best view.
We get to watch as the sanctuary that is totally dark, right, is then suddenly filled with light. But that light's not just, we didn't turn the lights on. It's people.
Yeah.
It's people who are now carrying this light. And yes, we have glow sticks. We'll have them at both services. We'll have regular candles at 6:00. We won't have any at 3. But at 6:00, if you've got a little who you feel like, hey, they may burn my eyebrows off.
Fire's not the best thing to put in their hands.
So we'll have some glow sticks available for that, because the point is not just the candle. It's the light. Yeah. The light of Christ that comes into the world and that we each carry.
Yeah.
And we carry it then out into the night and into the world and into like the new year, all of that, right?
Yeah.
The whole service is really, it builds, right? I mean, it starts with celebration. It never like goes down, right? But it builds up from we are celebrating here in this room to we are taking the celebration out into the world. And it's a really special service.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just a couple of things maybe to help your kids notice. You'll notice poinsettias in the room. You'll notice that we've switched our liturgical colors from blue to white as we go from Advent to Christmas, another marker of the change of season in the room. So little things that maybe if you get there early or your kids are asking, you can kind of point them out in the room as you come to Christmas Eve. Or if you go somewhere else, hopefully there's little things that you might be able to see if you're out of town or with family. Well,
and I think too, it's good to know that we'll have some additional resources for kids. So there will be childcare at both services. And so kiddos are welcome to go to childcare that are 5 and under, right? So kids that are older, we have some additional resources to help them engage in the Christmas service at 6:00.
Yeah.
So there'll be bags that you can bring. Also, feel free to bring your own stuff. If you know that your kiddo is going to need some additional stuff from home to help them like be in worship, that's awesome. Yeah. That's great. Including snacks. We don't care if your toddler or your 6-year-old is eating gummies or goldfish and being in worship. We want you to be able to be there. Yeah. So I just, as a preface, we want your family in worship.
Absolutely.
In all the ways that they come.
Yeah.
Because we love being in the middle of your messy, ordinary life, and we feel really grateful for that. Yep. So we hope that today you have found some inspiration and encouragement for yourself and for your family. And as that we wrap up the Advent season, that you feel able to rejoice in this weary world. If you'd like to get our podcast delivered directly to you each week, you can subscribe or follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or on YouTube. And if you like what you heard today, go ahead and subscribe because it makes Mark really happy when those little numbers go up. For more information about Katy First and all the upcoming events and worship for your family, visit our website at katyfirst.org. Mostly this, we want you to know that in the middle of your ordinary, messy life, whatever that looks like for you in this moment, that you are not alone. You are doing a good job, and you are so, so loved.
Yeah, and we'd love to see you for Longest Night, for Fourth Sunday in Advent, for Christmas Eve. And if you are traveling, we hope you have a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
See you soon.
Bye.